My dad was a diabetic, and I've seen, the figures for, the personal stress and strains of diabetes are very great, and we should try to do everything we can to help people lead as stable and normal lives as possible, and the technology's come on a huge amount. But I think you're right, the figures are something like £20 billion potentially annually on the consequences of diabetes from some of the often very complex operations that have to be carried out. The NHS hasn't always been a great adopter of technology, and we are trying to change that. Getting the NHS, rather like the technology you're producing for digitising and computerising patient records, this is now happening, actually, faster in England than in many other parts of the world, and we need to do the same with technology. Now, with diabetes, I see it in my own constituency. Abbott Diabetes, one of the leading firms in coming up with the new testing equipment that you can use as a diabetic yourself. If we can get this into the NHS faster, we're going to save a lot of money. So we need to make the NHS more technology and innovation friendly. We need to drive down the decision making for these things to the clinicians so they can make the choices. But crucially, we need to make sure we fund the NHS properly. Now, I just talked about the difficult decisions we took when we became the government. We knew we were going to have to make some spending reductions, but we said, no, the NHS is different. It is special. We will increase spending on the NHS every year. And we're making that pledge again for the next Parliament, saying crucially that the NHS plan that Simon Stevens, the Chief Executive of NHS England, has drawn up, we will fund it in full, and that means an extra £8 billion by a year by the end of the next Parliament. So I'm confident with the money, with the culture change, and with driving the decisions down to the clinicians, we should be able to get this technology adopted because it will save money. And when people say to me, well, the NHS long-term is unaffordable, how are you ever going to manage? I say you're not factoring in, A, the fact we got a strong economy, we can fund a strong NHS, but B, technology can actually reduce costs in so many ways. And I'm confident that diabetes is one of those key ways we can do that. Questions? I'm looking for a bit of gender balance here. The lady here.
Hi.
Hi there. Microphone coming to you.
Hi, I'm Victoria. I'm a commercial manager at TPP. I moved to Leeds for the job. I obviously want to settle here, which means I'm going to be a first-time buyer. Your Help to Buy scheme will benefit me immensely in my current position. But what assurances can you give to me that it's not going to change or going to be scrapped in a year or two's time?
Okay, very good point. I mean, first of all, I can give you that guarantee. We're keeping Help to Buy through the next Parliament, but I think we can do even better because what we need to do is actually build more houses so that people can get hold of the mortgage and get hold of the house. But let me just rewind a little bit and say where I think, the problem that we inherited. I mean, basically, because of the damage done in the financial crash, the banks were no longer lending 95% loan-to-value mortgages. And so what this meant was that because the banks weren't lending, the buyers couldn't buy, and because the buyers wouldn't buy, the builders wouldn't build, and the whole market was stuck. And it was stuck in a very unfair way, because what it meant was that if you had a rich mum and dad, you could get the deposit off them and take out a 75% mortgage. But this was leaving out people, including, I expect, many people in this room who had a good job, reasonable salary, could afford the mortgage payments, but just couldn't get the deposit together. So Help to Buy, I think, has been crucial at unlocking the housing market by basically saying, you still need to get that 5% deposit together, but we will help with the rest of the deposit through the loan guarantee, and then you can get hold of the flat or the house that you need. And so Help to Buy hasn't just helped the buyer, it has actually helped deliver more houses. But we need to do even better in the next Parliament, and that's where we're going to build these starter homes. So 200,000 homes that we build, that we take away some of the costs and regulations that the council normally puts on, and so we build them at 80% of the normal market value. And crucially, we say to people that they cannot be bought by buy-to-let landlords, they can't be bought by foreign property investors, they are reserved for people who are under the age of 40 who want to get on the housing ladder. So I think that will help stimulate the supply of houses, and added to that, in the Chancellor's budget, this new thing, the Help to Buy ISA, where to help you get the deposit together, for every £200 you save, the government puts in £50 to help you get the deposit so that you can get on the housing ladder. Now, all of this is crucial that we don't go back to the boom and the bust of the housing markets of the past. And we are quite tough now in terms of making sure that you can afford the mortgage you take out. But the unfairness we've got rid of is the fact that, as I say, when there were only 75% loan-to-value mortgages, too many people couldn't get on the housing market, even though they had a good salary, a good job, and they could afford the mortgage payments. So I hope with all those things, we'll be able to get you that flat or that house in the next Parliament. Let's have the lady at the back over here.
Hi, it's Beth Rigby from the Financial Times. Just a couple of questions. Firstly, just on the SNP, Lord Forsyth warned today that the Conservative Party was actually playing a short-term and dangerous game by talking up the SNP. Do you think he has a point? And just quickly on the second thing of 23 seats short, you said in a recent interview that you would feel that you hadn't achieved what you wanted if you don't get an outright majority. Do you still want to carry on as Conservative Party leader in that scenario?
Well, taking your second question first, I want to win 23 seats because I want an overall majority so Britain can have the strong and decisive government and, frankly, more accountable government that we need. But this is not about me. This is about you. This is about our country. This is about, can we make sure we create the jobs? Can we keep cutting people's taxes? Can we build the homes that young people want to buy? Can we provide the great schools? That's what I want. It's not about me, it's about delivering a government that can deliver for the country. If I fall short, too right, I will be deeply disappointed, but I'm not going to fall short. This is a campaign that's still got 16 days to go, and as I go up and down the country, what I'm finding is people are saying, yes, it's about the economy, it's about security, keep on with the plan, and we can deliver a great future for our people. On the SNP, all I'm doing is pointing out something that is as plain as the nose on your face, which is right now Labour are facing a wipeout in Scotland. I'm responsible for lots of things. In fact, I'm the Prime Minister. I'm responsible for everything. But I'm not responsible for the fact that the Labour Party has failed to get its message across in Scotland. Now, the wipeout of Labour in Scotland has a consequence for everybody else. The consequence is that Labour can't win an election on their own. They could only get into Downing Street on the back of SNP support. And they continually refuse to rule out doing just that. So the rest of the country does have to wonder, what is the price that we would pay? Now, the SNP aren't any old political party with a bunch of ideas and a bunch of leaders and a bunch of the rest of it. They are a party dedicated, above all, to one thing, breaking up the United Kingdom and breaking up our country. They don't come to Westminster with a list of interesting demands to make our country stronger and better. They come to Westminster with one intention, to break up the country and create an independent Scotland. And so I fear for our country if this were to happen. Think about it this way. At the end of 5 years of Ed Miliband in Downing Street and Nicola Sturgeon and Alex Salmond propping him up, and Nicola Sturgeon and Alex Salmond are going to be thinking, well, that was a great 5 years. Isn't the Westminster Parliament a brilliant thing? Isn't the United Kingdom doing so well? No. What they want is for people to feel that the country doesn't work, that the government doesn't work, that the country should break up. That is their intention. So by raising this, I'm not only raising the issue and the fear that people have that money will be sucked out of areas like this, I'm also raising the point that if we care about our United Kingdom, and I care passionately about it, don't let the SNP into government of the United Kingdom because they would try and break it up. And the key thing here is there is a solution to all this. I'm not raising a problem without an answer. I've got the answer. The answer is to vote for Stuart Andrew here in Pudsey, to vote for Conservative candidates, to deliver that Conservative majority so we can keep going with a plan that's working, with the jobs and the growth and everything else, and at the same time keep our United Kingdom strong and united and together. Gentleman over here. Sorry, I'll come to you in a minute. Gentleman over here.
My name is Hans Christie, MD of a local business.
Hi.
Now that we're a bit more prosperous in Yorkshire and we've a fairly prosperous city in Leeds, could you consider giving us a circular motorway right the way round? Because the airport and some of our businesses are fairly cut off with the current system.
Yeah. No, well, look, I can't get the map out and draw the red lines around it, but I mean, and I can see the local member of Parliament looking a bit nervous at this moment. But I think for many years, Yorkshire was underserved in terms of transport needs. We have tried to change that. with the funding particularly for rail improvements, for the electrification of the Transpennine line. I mentioned improvements to the M62. There are other A roads that have been getting improvements. And we need to have a forward programme where we have a guarantee that the capital budget will grow in line with the economy rather than be squeezed back down again. So we are seeing road improvements go in, but as for your specific suggestions, you might want to catch Stuart at the end and give him some ideas. Lady here. Microphone coming to you.
I'm Adele and I'm an account manager at TPP.
Right.
Now, I'm really proud to be British, but I've noticed in the media there's ever increasing negativity towards immigration. And I'd just like to know how you and the Conservative Party plan to make everyone feel united about Britain.
I think that's an absolutely brilliant and spot-on question. I think we should be incredibly proud of our country. And one of the things that makes me proudest of our country is the way that actually when people come here, we build a truly inclusive, multiracial country. I mean, let's start with England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. We've done something that almost no other country in the world managed to do, which is build a united kingdom of 4 nations, all with different identities, but shared identities. The great thing about being British is you can be Scottish and British, you can be English and British, you can be more proud of your Scottishness than your Britishness, but still love being part of our United Kingdom. We've built a sort of inclusive civic nationalism, which I think is incredibly powerful. And added to that, people who've come to this country from overseas have been able to build a home and a life for themselves. And the thing I get so excited about is in 1 or 2 generations, in most areas of endeavour, they can now get to the very top of whatever area they're in. If I look at politics, and I look round my cabinet table, and it's unfair to pick out an example maybe, but Sajid Javid, his father came from the Indian subcontinent. His father, I think, was a bus driver in Tooting. And in 1 generation, his son is sitting around the highest, most powerful table in the land, the cabinet. That makes me incredibly proud. That's what we've got to do more of. Is that the case in every area of life? Have we got enough people who are high court judges or at the top of our armed forces? No. But I think politics, business, sport, entertainment industries, you can see you can